Welcome to this London special of Estate Agent Showdown. And it's kind of like a Christmas/London special, but we'll call it a London special because of our two highly esteemed guests. We're on the beers. We're ready to go. And you're not on the beers though, are you, Ollie?
No, I'm not.
Is it Ollie or Oliver? Ollie. Ollie Howard. And your company name now?
It's OHRE.
OHRE. So we'll dig into that in a moment.
Yep.
And we've got Damien Jeffries of Jeffries.
Jeffries London.
Jeffries London, there you go. And we'll dig into a bit more around Jeffries London. But first of all, for the listeners and the watchers and the viewers, tell us a little bit about your experience in a estate agency, just a little bit of background just to kick us off. If you want to kick us off, Damien.
Okay, so I have been in the industry for 3 decades, over 30 years.
You don't look it, mate. You don't look it.
I feel it. And yeah, so I started off in a small boutique agency in Fulham when I was 18 years old, and then have had a career from opening high street agencies, consultancy work, and to now opening a brokerage in prime central London, so primarily dealing with the prime central London market. Been interesting. An interesting 30 years.
30 years. He's kind of up with me there. It's about 30 years. It's around 30 years for me.
Dinosaurs.
I mean, at the age of what? 41? That's pretty good going, mate. You've done well. It started at the age of 11, so well done. Well done. So he's got a brokerage in London. We're going to dig into that as well. Yeah. So tell us about your journey as well.
So I've been an agent for 8 years now, so not quite 3 decades.
But, dear, it's a trainee.
I'm a baby in the industry still. I started at Marsh & Parsons in Shepherd's Bush, then got moved to Fulham, became their top agent for the last 3 years I was there, hit all the targets, started wanting to do your video tours and things like that, and a lot of carrot and stick dangling as well. And I went, nah. I'm done. I'm done giving all my money away, and I'm done with the carrot and stick. So I set up my own agency 3.5 years ago now, and it's kind of gone from there, I guess.
3.5 years, probably the toughest time to start anything in business. Those first couple of years. And how old's Jeffries at the brokerage in London?
We started the company actually, Jeffries James, which is the main company, 5 years ago. So we've been doing this for 5 years. I mean, my background is high street, so I've always worked in the high street model, owned high streets. I've worked for Kinley, Folkard and Hayward a couple of times, actually, so always been in that space. And then probably 5 years ago, I think the change for me was I just didn't see the future in the KPI model. Yeah. It's been so KPI'd for so long, how many calls are there? I mean, I used to train negotiators on, more calls, more viewings, more sales. And I think the reality is the world has changed. We started off where you called all of your buyers between 10 and 12 and 2 and 4 because they were...
Sounds like Foxtons.
Well, exactly. Well, funny enough, the guy that taught me was the guy that then taught everyone through Foxtons, but that's something we can...
I mean, who isn't ex-Foxtons?
Peter Tobin. But some agents still work on that structure. And I find it incredible that you see negotiators sat there making hundreds of phone calls a week to no avail. Yeah. And I think I just thought, do you know what, there has to be more than this. And it's going back into what we used to do, understanding the client, understanding the buyer. And I suppose that was the drive for me to kind of change my direction a little bit. So. And
do you focus a lot on the seller client or the buyer client? Because you hear in London that you kind of hear a lot of buying agents working with a selling agent.
Yeah.
What's your
I mean, the focus really is on the selling, isn't it? I mean, we used to be about buyers making the calls, understand the buyer, but especially in the brokerage space, it's all about videography. You're trying to attract buyers. I mean, I think it's probably the shortfall in the brokerage model. I think they should do a lot more of calling out buyers and building those relationships.
What, and acting for them as well, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a shift as well, isn't it? So, especially in the prime and super prime space, I think we deal with something like 250 buying agents now in prime central London. So there's a lot of buying and search agents. And that's how you're kind of adapting your model around that, right? So it would be foolish to put your house that's worth 5 million on Rightmove these days. I think, most people will come with a buying agent. Buying agent doesn't get a fee if it's on Rightmove. So in theory, you want to try and keep it off Rightmove. So there's a big shift in how we market things and how we, we'll keep something off market for a long time, just approach buying agents, trying to create that interest. So it's actually a different way of doing the job.
And your sort of model in that respect with regards to buyers and sellers what's your majority
kind of
client?
The same thing is that I think in the corporate world, you very much focus on the buyer's side, as Damien said. It's just, unless you're the manager, which is one out of the 5 people on a sales team normally, it's just buyers. And quite frankly, the managers most of the time get spoon-fed all the instructions from client services as it is type thing. So I think the hardest part being a brokerage inevitably is getting through someone's door.
Yeah.
So I think a lot more of the focus being self-employed is the sellers as opposed to the buyers.
Yeah.
I think the reality is the buyers come if the right property is there for the right buyers type thing, and it's priced properly. But I think the sellers is my main target at the end of the day.
So how do you get to more sellers then? Because it's so swamped by the sounds of it, with options for people thinking.
Give these tips away today.
Okay, well we can edit it.
This sounds like a Christmas tip.
I'm starting in London in January.
Absolutely destroy the market.
Well, look, give us some tips. I promise to not share them on the podcast.
You can share as much as you want. I think the thing for me, I said, it's always hard to get into someone's house or into someone's flat.
How did you do that with your first client? What was your kind of
my thing is that I am phenomenally good at cold contact and finding people's details and reaching out to them and never not reaching out to them. Just keep going till they
relentless.
Give up. It's non-stop. But when I first started the company, I left M&P thinking, do you know what? I've sold so many properties. I'm going to have loads of sellers now that are going to come to me. And the reality is,
it doesn't.
No one cared. No one was interested because you're a new agent.
Is there no loyalty then, or is it just they want a credible brand?
A couple of my old sellers had some loyalty, but they were people that I'd done multiple deals with. So some people that I'd sold their main house to and sold then a couple of buy-to-lets to and given them good advice, they came with me. But your one-off purchasers, bear in mind, I sold most of them. My highest volume of properties in the last 3 years, I was at M&P. They're not ready to sell in the first place. No. Plus, I was new. It was very obvious I didn't have any buyers. It was very obvious that I didn't have any clients. So what I did was Ryan Sahant principle, which is if you're setting up on your own, you go for the stuff that's been on the market for a long time. Yeah. You sell it and you prove a point. And you can bring that on. So the first 2 properties I brought on were on the market for 2.5 years, and I sold them in 3 weeks.
Wow. But just on that kind of approach that you've took, and we'll come to your approach and your tips, Damien, as well, because I'm sure you've got another way of doing it. This is consultancy. We're going to be selling this out without you getting any cut.
I've not said how I do
I'm a Cambridgeshire lad coming into London. But because what I'm thinking is that, I see, so my view from the outside looking in to London is there's a lot of videography.
Yeah.
It's a lot of social media.
It's not as much as you would think, though.
Is it not?
No.
Because what you've just demonstrated is you're like, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to target this market. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to be relentless. Yeah. I don't see a lot of that.
My instructor said, if I can get through the door, I pretty much always walk away with the instruction. Yeah. Because it's just a different approach and it's a different way of looking at the marketing. I think my instruction to valuation rate is 97%.
Bloody hell.
So it's not a hard. When you're self-employed, especially in the higher end of the market, a lot of people are entrepreneurs. Yeah. They have their own business or they've sold their own business and they actually really like to back someone that's gone on their own in the first place, let alone everything on top. I think the reality of, obviously I don't do the prime, super prime section. I'm more of the residential.
Is that deliberate?
I've never been in it.
So
I don't have the contacts in that industry. Eventually I'll try and push into there, but right now, for me, there's no point taking on a £15 million house when I'm just going to have no one for it, is the reality. But in my residential side of the market, it's not financially affordable for a lot of the corporates to bother doing videography. They just don't spend any money on it. You are seeing more and more of it nowadays, but the reality is, even if you just do a bang average video and put it up on social media and get 1,000 views on it, it's more than the other agents doing in the first place, because we've all got Rightmove, we've all got Zoopla, who's doing that extra bit. And that's what pushes me over the edge. I mean, I have a very good following
So is that
now.
when you go out
reach.
there, it's like, look, we all do this. That doesn't really work.
This is the standard.
But
now.
who are you targeting? I mean, for me again, right? So we have built our business pure, like trying to move away from Rightmove, using social media to sell property.
Yeah.
I still not 100% convinced that you can build a business selling houses on social media, right? But what it does
I
do,
should be your proof.
yeah, but there are, I get it. There are definitely occasions. I know some great sales that have been sold, but for me, it's more about your personification as a company.
I agree.
What do you look like, right? You create this amazing videography. You go and value a house, and you say to somebody, "That's what your current agent is doing for you.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do for you." And just in that alone is an instruction winning process.
proof of the difference.
It's not that you're putting it on social media because you're going to get 50 buyers calling you tomorrow and saying, "I want to buy."
Do you think there's a bit of a sorry, Dave, Ollie, you're probably going to disagree with this bit, but because I see from the outside looking in a lot of these brokerages with people that have never done it before, and they're out there, and because they've got a social media profile,
Yeah.
they're literally banking on that to sell someone's property. I really want you to hear this. If you're an estate agent juggling a separate CRM, a standalone website, and these different marketing and prospecting tools, it's time to see what Iceberg Digital, the #1 operating system for estate agents, can do for you. At Gigs & Co and within the Gigs Group, we use Iceberg, and it's absolutely out of this world. It's a complete ecosystem that makes your agency more efficient and more human focused. We've got AI scouts working behind the scenes, finding the full address details of properties on the market with other agents, matching them to our contact database, and even writing the email outreach. No human can keep up with that, and trust me, it's changed the game for us. So if you're prepared to make big changes to how you work and want to lead the way, just head over to iceberg-digital.co.uk today. And as a listener, use the code GIGSSHOW when you inquire for an exclusive perk on your setup. You're gonna love it.
Again, I think if you look at the good ones, they are also using the process, as I said, buying agents, business to business.
So it's like that sort of partnership,
Yeah,
collaboration.
So when you talk about social media, take LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I wouldn't say that you would generally sell a house through LinkedIn,
not
but
chance.
you would collaborate through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So for me, LinkedIn is probably a better thing for us because it's business to business. So if I'm a buying agent, I'm looking for a specific house. We're not putting it on Rightmove or Zoopla, and you're looking for a specific person. As we build our networks, and you build your networks through the videography and the things that you create, and a buying agent says, "Oh, I've got a buyer for that," or another agent, for example. See, I think collaboration is the most important thing.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and as we move into the brokerage space, it's all about collaboration, and especially in the prime and super prime markets.
Yeah.
You know, most agents don't take on the property and sell it through themselves.
No.
They sell it through a buying agent or through another agent. So
Do you get involved with buying agents much?
Every so often on the more top end value like of what we do. So I don't normally go over anything like north of 5 million. That's my normal cutoff, unless it's something obviously spectacular.
What's that, a one-bed flat in Mayfair or something like that? A garage. You get a nice little bit of parking. Where's the garage? You don't get the garage. You just get the parking.
But we deal with buying agents every so often. I think we have a different view on the social side because I think the reality is when you're selling a 7, 8, 9+ million pound property, the reality is actually uploading it to social media, it's just for people that are thinking it's cool. How many buyers are you actually going to get that are going to come through with
That
a
is the
9,
big
10
question.
million pound budget? But for me, anything, like I said, I do from your £500,000 all the way up to £5 million.
Yeah.
I'd say between £500,000 and £3.5 million, there's actually buyers there looking, and 50% of our properties sell through Instagram or TikTok at the moment.
that's brilliant.
I think
really good.
that's partially down to the fact that I've built it in a certain way over 3 years, and now my reach is 1.3
Your
million people
videos are
every
pretty
month.
synonymous. I mean, that's how I come across you. It was your videos.
Yeah.
You know, you stood out. It was different. It wasn't the stuffy kind of approach.
It's
if you like.
it's different, and I think because of the way I've built it and the way I've changed it and learned the algorithms and so on, the videos are getting at least 200,000 views a time.
Bloody hell.
And it's one of those ones where if you're going to put it in front of 200,000 people, you're going to at least get one person that's going to show some interest to it. But I think social media doesn't work for everyone because when you do the standard social media stuff, it doesn't stand out. But you look at the likes of myself, Tanya Baker, Grant Bates, both Tanya and Grant went self-employed after me, but they took this massive following with them, and they get so much stuff through socials, and they sell so much stuff through socials, but that's because they've curated it and built it over time. Whereas you look at certain people like Ari Reid, for example, who's the biggest, most followed UK estate agent. Full stop. She's got 500,000 followers. She's a personality instead. I don't think she actually gets much from her socials other than personal awareness type thing. But I think it does work. I think it just works dependent on what market you're in. As I said, at the end of the day, £50 million house on socials, it'll get a lot of views just because it's cool. And people outside of London will go, hang on, fuck am I paying 15 million quid here for?
So if you get if you're really good on the marketing and sales plan, if you like, sales activity on working for selling clients, does that reduce the need for you to collaborate?
No, not at all. I think there's a couple of agents. It's funny because when you try and collaborate with a corporate agent, they say not a chance, piss off type thing.
Really?
I've offered some of the most ridiculous, for my location and my price point, some of the most ridiculous referral fees. I put up a 35 grand referral fee the other day. Not a single corporate agent touched it.
Is that because they're shit in the nicest possible way? I don't mean that in a horrible way. What I mean by that is they don't actually know they're buying. They don't really work for buyers. Or are you talking about the corporate agents that have a buyer agent section?
No, but just the estate agents on their own. Like if I've got a £3.5 million house in Shepherd's Bush at the moment, off market, that I'll get it gone within the next 2 weeks anyway. It's just on one of those roads that will sell. But for increased speed and the want to collaborate, and also personally the want to see if I can pull them into the brokerage instead of the corporate world, I offered up a 22.5 grand referral fee. Cash can go straight to their pocket, whatever they want to do. Not a single person touched it. And that's more money in a commission than they would make in 5 deals full stop.
Maybe on 10%?
To 10% of whatever the fee the company's paid. So
that's what I mean,
They might walk away with 3.5 grand if they're lucky.
Yeah. I have quite a strong opinion on this.
Go.
And I think that the high street model changed dramatically over, it was more about results for the wrong thing.
100%.
Right? And the drive hasn't been money for a long time. The drive has been on a top of the list this week for the most listings, top of the list this week for the most price reductions. And that became more of a focus for the high street model than it became about making money. So they didn't look at commissions. So we've done the same. I mean, the amount of times we put £50,000 as an offering, not one viewing from it. And it's not because the focus has changed.
Behaviours have been driven by what they focus on.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, some of the big companies, how do you drive a big company? So you've got 60 branches, 70 branches, you're going to KPI it. You want to drive it in a way that it's by, weekly awards, monthly awards, or whatever it is.
Is that dangerous in this climate, though? So, from the outside looking in, again, London has had a lot of press this year on house price dropping and all of that kind of stuff. And also some of the articles that I've read through ChatGPT.
Of course.
But some are saying you could list 10 and sell only, or exchange on only 2.
Yeah, sure.
And if you're driving listings and not completions or the right metrics, that's pretty dangerous for a big company with big.
I don't think so, though.
Because the metrics, if you think about the metric, how does it work? So, sorry, if you think about the metric, you take something on at a certain price, you tie somebody into a 6-month contract. There's lots of 6 month contracts. But with the process that all you're going to do is price reduce until it sells. Yeah. So there are lots of agencies that take that approach, right? Yeah. So they overvalue, take it on, and then the next 6 months is all about getting the price down. How many times do people say, I've had 50 viewings and no one's interested? Well, that's because you're part of a viewing tour. You've been on a viewing tour for the last 50 viewings. Nobody's interested in your house. It's too much money. And the reality is, after 50 viewings, the agent call up and say, we've had 50 viewings on your house, and the price is way too high. Otherwise, we'd have had an offer by now. So by process, you say it's dangerous. Is it? Because you're processing, you work out the fact that if you take it on today, it's slightly overpriced, and you work the price down over a 6-month period, it's going to sell. So after a period of time, it just becomes a system.
I agree. But I think it's also like, even if they only exchanged on 3 out of 10, with the marketing costs that they have and the discounts they get from like your Rightmove and Zoopla by being that big, actually, it's probably cost effective for them. And it's also, as you said a second ago, it's look at our market appeal. Look at how big we are, type thing.
Yeah.
It's like
so from a consumer's perspective,
it looks like they're doing amazingly. They've absolutely taken over the location,
but it's not necessarily going to get them the best price.
Never work. There's specific agencies that I actually target for second time around stock because I know they're not going to sell anything.
Yeah,
that's the reality, and I know that they're going to charge an extortionate fee. That it's just they're not going to get any money from it, and it becomes a bit of a, obviously, as you say, they're locked in for stupid contracts, so it becomes a waiting game till you get it. But you know for a fact they're not going to sell it in that time, so it's just repetitive contact. Hello, how are you doing? Obviously, they've probably not got you an offer yet. Blah 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 blah. But as I said, it's a corporate machine. They've worked for X amount of years. I think slowly but surely they're going to start dying out, especially with all the new taxes and stuff under the Labour government, making it harder to employ more and more and more people. I think slowly but surely you're going to see kind of the more middle ground corporate agencies slowly fade away. You're still going to be left with your Savills, your Knight Franks, because I don't feel like they're as KPI led as like a Foxtons or a Dexter's type thing, and they have a brand about them. They're never going to disappear, but I feel like you're going to start seeing a lot of the middle ground ones slowly disappear.
It feels like it's going like you're either so kind of the divide's getting bigger.
There's no real middle ground at the moment. You're either super, it's like politics, you're either super right or you're super left at the moment. Yeah. You're either super corporate or you're super self-employed. There's very few people that sit in the middle ground.
There's no centre agency.
Exactly. There's you've got no one that's gone, do you know what? We'll have a self-employed wing and a corporate wing of our company and see how that goes. It just wouldn't work.
Because a lot of the corporates in this, they fear people leaving, right? They fear agents leaving, going, do you know what? Damien's just offered me 50 grand as a referral fee. Why don't I just go and do it myself? So they don't necessarily help them to promote what's called their personal brand.
They don't like a lot of it. Part of the reason I left Marsh & Parsons was that they thought I was making video tours and things like that for my own personal gain, which partly I was, but it's also the benefit of if more people see me, more people will come and sign up with our office and I'll make more money. And that's a really easy route to do it. But they were so convinced that I was prepping myself to leave when the reality is no one else could offer me the same commission package in a corporate world.
Why don't
they hate it?
But why don't they just go, right, we'll just have our own self-employed?
Because I think that's a huge change. If you're going to start talking about the likes of Knight Frank and Savills, that's a huge change, isn't it?
Yeah.
But do you think if they don't change, they're in trouble?
I think with your bigger brands like that, I don't think they are.
Well, you say that. Looking at the Prime Central, if you start looking at what's happening in Prime Central London, and you've got the movement from Sotheby's, you've got the joining of Harding Green.
Tell our audience about that, because you guys, you know your market.
Sotheby's will. Personally, I think Sotheby's is doomed to fail with the amount of money they're offering agents to come over and join them at the moment. They're on £750,000, £1 million.
They're buying
I think
people.
What he set out to do, he's achieved.
100%.
And what he set out to do was wreck a market, was to take all the good people out of the big agencies like Savills and Knight Frank, and he's achieved that. So he has taken big market, movers, and guys that are making, banking £2 or £3 million a year for these businesses. Taken them out of that space and have left them with nothing, with a hole. And I know for a fact, and even the market share, if you look at where Savills and Knight Frank are, where they were in Prime Central London in market share 3 or 4 years ago to today, they've lost more than half their market share, which is huge because of the broker movement. And you've got broker movements like the Sotheby's, you've got your Harding Greens, you've got your, London brokers. There are very, very good agents that have done a 10 or 15 year stint within these corporates that are now working under brokerage models that have a black book, have these people to call up, and have literally taken a huge market share.
But it's even setting up on their own type thing, like ignoring going to a brokerage, like Hampton's, perfect example of that, where Hampton's had a really good private office at one point, and then Mark Breffett, one of the heads of that, walked and he left. Grant walked and he left, and they're left with
completely
some junior members of the private office, and those two were kind of your figureheads, and they've both gone and started up on their own because they can go, do you know what? I know these people. I don't have to take their contact with me. They'll reach out to me, and we'll do it that way. And I think I think the hard thing they had as well, there's only so much you can actually incentivize people within a corporate before they go, I can make more money.
So is that why you think they just can't compete?
I don't think they can offer the same monetary value.
Their thing is security, I suppose, isn't it?
For example, 100%. They're not going to change. You're talking about old institutions with, this all comes from the top, right? They're just not going to switch into a broker model. I don't see how it's feasible.
Sotheby's.
Sotheby's.
They're on the phone. They're on the phone. This is live. This is live. You see? So what was that fella's name?
From Sotheby's.
Yeah.
George Azar.
He's watching and he's just heard and he thought, I'm going to get Ollie's number and I'm going to ring him up and do it. I'm going to do a deal live on air because he's that aggressive. Yeah. Do you know what? That would go viral. That would be brilliant. But I think the thing that I'm really fascinated by it because there's a lot, like a real estate agency, you don't really have to be qualified.
No.
Okay. So if you've got something about you and you've got that gumption and that drive and that ambition and you're in the right place, you can earn some serious money.
100%.
Even in the current climate.
100%.
Can you earn some serious money in the high street, though? I mean, realistically,
not in the high street.
I don't think you can. When you say serious money,
in the marketplace.
London living, cost of livings. I mean, you can take other high street models, but what do they pay? 20 basics, between 5 and 10% commissions. I mean, living in London on those sorts of, that's why it's a revolving door industry.
I think I was probably one of the highest paid residential agents, take out the super prime stuff for the 3 years that I was at LMP, and I used to walk away with, it's a lot of money, 175 grand a year. No debate that was a lot of money.
But you're talking about top. I mean, the majority
won't get anywhere near it.
Yeah, 60 to 80,000.
And then you're living in
they're good.
And you've got to be good.
Yeah, you've got to be good.
Oh, so that's not the bottom.
No, I don't think.
I think that's you being in the top 10% of your agency.
Seriously.
Yeah. I used to I remember looking back on my time when I was there, and there was people in my old office in Shepherd's Bush walking away with making 30, 40 grand a year.
Yeah, for sure.
Max.
I had someone reach out to me for one of the top ones. We've already mentioned their name. and new to the industry, asking me for training. Yeah. And I'm thinking, that's interesting, because you'd think they must be training them on the stuff that she was asking me about.
But are they? That's a really, really good point. And I think this is the thing about the brokerage model, isn't it? It has to start training. But the minute it's about taking high street estate agents and turning them into brokers, right? So they have 4 or 5 years worth of training, they understand. But as we keep moving forward, surely there's going to come a point where you start your career in the brokerage model, right? 100%. So the training now has to start adapting and changing and working with people that want to start in the industry, like taking people from university who want to get into property and teaching them how the brokerage model works. And I think that shift is starting to happen now.
I agree.
We have people applying for brokerage roles within the business who are literally coming out of university, have never worked in property before, and I'm really keen to start working on that.
Yeah.
I'm keen to start putting all of those training things together, and because we're very much about hubs, very much about mentoring. I think
you're on my wavelength here, Damo, because in our business we're looking at making a fairly significant change, but training's a big part of what we've been doing over the years, and we could do it so much better.
Yeah.
Mentoring, coaching, really helping the agent to create the right habits, mindset to then do the work that they're learning. And I agree. I think our industry practices on the public.
I'm a bit like you in that I am a firm believer. I've said this for the last 3 years. I need to get to a certain number of brokers in my brokerage so that I can take a step back and I can start training people that want to become brokers. Because at the end of the day, if you're good at it, there's so much more money in the self-employed role than there is in the corporate role. I personally believe that those that come with no bad habits of being in the industry already are the ones that are going to go out and grab it by the balls and go for it. And they're just going to absolutely hound it because they want to make money. But that training needs to come in. And I think you're right when you say at some point, it's no longer going to be go and cut your teeth at a corporate agency, make sure it's right for you, then come and join us. Yeah. It's going to be, come on in, we'll teach you what you need to learn, and we'll go for it.
So training I want to circle back to that, because I think what you were saying, and you're going to evolve into really getting on the back of that. But what was interesting, and I think kind of going out into the sticks. You guys,
where is the sticks? Tell me where the sticks are.
A market. Is it really? That probably is, though, isn't it?
It's for London.
Yeah, I'm in the bloody sticks. We're 20 miles short of Cambridge. A market town called St. This. Yeah, you wouldn't have a clue where it is. Yeah. But the point is that I kind of train a lot around trying to understand clients' needs and really working on plans to deliver that and so on and so forth. So this lady who messaged me at the weekend saying, I want to get some training, her main focus was, I want to earn X amount. And I don't know whether you share the same belief. I think the money is at the end of the other stuff that we touched on. Is that why you're looking?
It's a good byproduct of doing the job.
You should be rewarded on all of those things.
Yeah.
So if you've got great habits, you'll have a great mindset. If you've got a great mindset, you're going to implement the things that you learn more so than someone who hasn't got a great mindset and go and do the things that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And you'll get the rewards because it is economics. You know, if you put houses on the market, you're going to sell them, et cetera, et cetera. So is that really why you're taking a slightly different viewpoint on the brokerage model?
Because I think it's a different approach. It's a different way we do the job. I mean, the best brokers we have come from the high street model and actually haven't changed what they've done. So one of the brokers, we were adding up for the end of the year what they've done, 700 and something viewings this year, right? So you always hear this story about, the brokerage model is a lifestyle business. It's certainly not a lifestyle business. Not. Anyone who says that, I've got to challenge it because I don't believe it. You are literally doing everything from start to finish. You are doing your prospecting, doing the valuation, taking on the property, selling it, sales progressing it. You are doing absolutely everything while still doing 700 viewings over the course of the year. So there is obviously a very close process coming from the high street to what we do, right? The difference is in most high streets, as we've said, you have a lister, you have a manager, so all you learn to do is you sit there on the phone making phone calls and you're not really learning anything outside. Whereas within the brokerage space, you learn so much more, how much you've got to sales progress your own sales. You know, we're always moaning about how bad solicitors are. Well, actually, maybe if we understood that a defective title means you can't exchange by Friday, maybe we wouldn't blame solicitors so much, right? So I think it's the whole thing. To be a broker, you have to be trained on the whole thing from start to finish. Yeah. Whereas the high street model doesn't do that. You know, generally, you're in at a certain point, wherever you are. If you're a manager, you become a lister, or you have a lister and a manager, and you all take different roles, right, within the office. The broker does everything from start to finish. So it's all going to become about support networks, learning on the job. You know, I'm a big believer in the hub. I think it's easier for us when people come into the office every single day, sit around. We've got some very experienced people around that table. I mean,
can you link their success to being in rather than remote?
Oh God, like unbelievably. So the best broker comes in every day. The second best broker comes in every day. The third best broker comes in every day. And then you get down to the worst brokers and they come in once a fortnight. Yeah. And it's literally as obvious as that.
Is that because of COVID?
Is it because of COVID? You know, this is what I do find funny though, isn't it? That you're self-employed, you'd think you'd have far more, I find it weird that you've...
More motivation.
Yeah, like people need to be motivated because they're told to come in at 9 o'clock, told to leave at 6 o'clock. Then they become self-employed and they come for 2 hours a day. And that to me just doesn't make sense. But
I think it's because people think as soon as they've got that self-employed mindset, the majority that fail, the majority of the reasons is they relax.
I think the problem you've got is...
you have a 5-month-old.
That's why it's on coffee. It's gone now. We've got another coffee coming for the old boy.
But I think the problem we've got is, to name drop the brokerage, but EXP being one of the biggest brokerages in the country, big part of their push is freedom and so on. And the reality is, like owning any business and being self-employed, you want to be the best at what you want to do. I'm sorry, it doesn't come working between 3 and 5 in the afternoon and having tons of days off. Yeah. I work significantly more now than I ever did at my corporate firm. Like 7 days a week, 18 hours a day.
It's so beneficial that you do, isn't it?
But you have to, especially for that first year when you're inevitably either going to break even or lose money. I lost money in my first year. You have to keep just absolutely hammering it because the results don't come instantly. Yeah. As I said, it's a weird one, and I get why people struggle sometimes coming from corporate to the self-employed world, because corporate is instant gratification. Yeah. You get sent a lead by client services, you go and value it the next day, and then you get instructed 3 days later. Whereas with the self-employed world, you've got to generate pretty much everything yourself, unless your brokerage helps you generate it as well. And it's a long-term game. But the long-term rewards are significantly higher than what they are corporate.
Training yourself to be consistent. 100%. And I know people use this word all the time, but for me, it is the word, and it's consistency. Yeah. And when you work in a high street model, you're taught to be consistent or told to be consistent, right? You need to call all the buyers between 5 and 700,000 on a Wednesday, whatever it is. You're taught structure and consistency. And where most of the brokers go wrong is they fail in consistency. So they'll reach out to somebody and then they don't reach out again for another 4. You know, it's just there's no structure and consistency. And I think that once the brokerage model gets into that, how to teach people to be consistent, how to deal with people, then it will start to change. And instead of it being 10 to 20% of brokers actually make it and the others don't, to becoming 40%, 50%, 60% as this moves forward.
Well, you touched on that number or percentage of who don't make it, and you talk about consistency. I think that's a bloody good point because, again, I'm harping back to what I said a minute ago. So I think a lot of people, they go into it for the wrong reasons.
Agreed.
So they're thinking, well, there's big fees. I get a bigger cut of those fees. I don't have to do the consistency.
Yeah, which is
bollocks. If you go to, I bet Sirhan doesn't sit there and go, opens his mouth waiting for roast duck to fly in. I bet he's exactly on the phone, does the calls, is relentless. And if you go and speak to your top 3 brokers, and you look at what you've been doing that's made you successful from getting your first client to the last client, it will involve outreach. 100%. It will involve instigation.
I also do think, though, at the end of the day, being in a sales job, money has to be part of the equation. At the
of course
end of the day.
It does.
While I personally believe that if you're great at what you do, money will come to you anyway. Sure. Whether you're the world's best binman or the world's best hairdresser or whatever, there's always money that follows that type thing. But if you're getting into, personally, I believe if you're getting into the self-employed world for freedom, as opposed to being able to create financial freedom, you fucked it already.
I mean, I've got to be honest.
That's a great clip, by the way. I'll share that with you for £100.
Yeah, fine. No, that's it. There you go. That'll sell a house.
That'll sell a house. Yeah.
But I think that's the case. Like, I think at the end of the day, if you're coming out of a corporate role where you were making 40 grand a year, and then going into the self-employed world where you're making 40 grand a year, some people will be happy with that. Fine, so be it. The brokers that I want to join my agency, I want them to go out and make a fuck ton of money and be the best at what they are.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, the best people in the self-employed world, the first 3 years is a grind to go and make your money. After that, it does become easier because then you've got more money, you can have people on board to help you with certain things and so on and so forth. But if you're just getting into it for freedom, yes, you are more free. I got to go and see my daughter's first swimming lesson the other day type thing. That was great. But then I missed an hour's worth of calls and it meant I had to stay up for an hour later in the night type thing. Right. It's not...
That's a really good insight as to your mindset there, though.
But like, if I'm missing an hour worth of calls, I want to be there and present for her. She doesn't know I'm there. She's 5 months old. Like, she couldn't care less. Yeah. But for me, I want to be there. But the reality is... an hour worth of calls a lot of times, so everything gets pushed back an hour. So I'm still doing 18-hour days, but I'm just getting 1 hour less of sleep.
It's funny, isn't it? So when we started the brokerage model, and I am so guilty of this, it's a lifestyle job. You got to see your kids, got to start on Monday, and I did all of that, right? 6 months later, this is going to be the worst 90 hours of every single week, every effort. And if it's not for you, then don't bother. Because again, I think how you frame this and the mindset, how you start off, and exactly what you're saying is right. That people go into this because they're sold the videography and house flats, the whole of this beautiful Louboutins and Lamborghinis and everything else.
I think it's a false dawn. That.
It really is, and the reality is, it isn't easy being a broker. I mean, we're talking here about 40,000s and 80,000. I mean, we have brokers that don't do a deal for 12 months, 100%. Right? You're in central London, so you've got to survive for 12 months. This is not easy. You might do a couple of lettings, you might do a few bits and pieces, but sales transactions, how long are they taking? 5 months? So even if you started today at a broker and sold a property today, you will not get paid for 5 months.
But that's what I say to all of the brokers that are looking to now join in January is you really need to have 6 months worth of life savings for your mortgage, your family, X and Y and Z, at least, to make sure you're comfortable. We offer a loan basis at the start as well to add some more money to it if they need to. But the reality is, you'll keep the lights on with the lettings, is the reality in the first side.
How's the pressure? So the mental health of that. So just think about that for a minute. 6 months, you'll do your first deal, okay? So you're going to go 6 months with no pay. You'll get to month 4 and you still haven't agreed a sale. but you've been told in 6 months' time, you should be able to get some money. How do you feel now? You can't be. You're getting tight with your savings.
Do you think a lot of people leave in that first?
Of course,
100%. 100%.
Of course, because the pressure really, and I think money pressure for salespeople is not a good thing.
No,
right?
it's not. It turns to desperation.
Desperation, and I think this is what happens. And the broker model isn't. You really have to be financially in a good position. And I say 12 months now. I generally say 12 months. I think 6 months. You'll get to month 4. And you'll be panicking, you're not going to earn any money, then that whole mindset sets in, then you're not sure, then you're desperate to try and do a transaction, then you're trying to steal viewings. All of a sudden, it all collapses, right? And this is why the broker model will take time, because
100%.
it isn't something you cannot just walk from the high street into a job tomorrow. If you live in London, you pay rent, you've got all these things to do. To switch from that to becoming in the broker model, we can all tell you can earn 200,000 a year, or we can do this and we can do that. But unless you have the ability to survive for 12 months, my advice today is don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm the best evidence of that as well, because when I left M&P, I'd spent a lot of money during M&P on buying assets and things like that, and houses and so on as investments. And I left with $9,000 in the bank, and I burnt through that in 3 months.
Yeah.
And then we were left on my partner's health assistant NHS salary and eating like beans on toast for 7 months before actually any money came in. And it was hard, and it was one of those ones where you actually ask yourself on a daily basis, what have I done?
And you're a mindset business owner as well, right? You're not talking about mindset business owners that are prepared to go that extra mile and, go to hell and back to make a company work. You're talking about negotiators that have been sold a dream, that come into an industry that think they're going to make a fortune.
What's the percentage that don't work though, Dane?
As brokers?
As brokers.
I think it's a high. I don't think the last time I heard the percentage for everybody, there's only really 20% that actually could sit
The
here
80-20 rule.
and that would sit here and say they earn 6 figures plus, right? But the
If that as well, I'd say.
I mean, that's that small percentage. I think otherwise, if
It's
you're not
really
in 6
interesting
figures,
from
why
where
play?
I sit. Like you're out in the sticks, as I've said. You're looking at all the Instagram and you're thinking,
Wow.
that's a nice one for 10 million, or that's a nice one for 8 million. Then,
Yeah.
it's great. I mean, I know the industry a lot more than a negotiator that's at Marsh and Parsons or wherever, and the temptations. But it really is about going into this with your eyes completely wide open and your pockets full.
I think I get, like, genuinely through Instagram, I must get 10 to 15 messages a day from people saying, I want to become a self-employed broker because I've seen what you're doing. You talk about how much money you make.
That must be quite difficult, because
I talk to all of these people, like, genuinely, when they message me, I don't have a phone call, but I'll voice note them back because they have questions. And if they want to ask questions about it, fantastic. I'm all for it if you want to become a self-employed broker. But they look at my Instagram, they look at my stories when I talk about making X amount of money in a month type thing and so on and so forth, which I talk about because I'm proud of it type thing.
And because you're attracting more brokers.
I have no idea what you're on about.
Would you like to be like that?
Yeah.
For $12.99.
I haven't got
this
the Lamborghini
check.
yet, though. I haven't got the Lamborghini yet. But it's...
Oh, come on, please get just rent one. Just
it's
rent
having
one.
the reality of actually saying to people, I was a very, very good negotiator for nearly 6 years at my old company before I started.
Yeah.
I'm still a very, very good agent, in my opinion. And that's why I'm making a lot of money. And I have all the systems in place and so on. If you think you're going to come on and make the same money as me in year one, if you do, I'll be fucking delighted. I'll give you X and Y, Z as a reward. But the reality is it's going to take you at least 3 years and being a good, consistent agent to build up to that level of money.
What I'm hearing is if you're in the top 10% in corporate agency, you will, triple your earnings
100%.
as a broker outside if you're able to do the complete role rather than just a specific role. So what's going on in London? Because I wrote loads of questions down. I haven't asked one, and we're about 40 minutes in. I'm such a bad host. Anyway, London. A lot of talk about like Mayfair's dropped by 40% and this going on and that's going on. I'm not necessarily saying it has or it hasn't, but what do you know?
Yeah, I would say probably. You take the average selling price in Mayfair 4 years ago was £4,000 a foot, and I think it's currently £1,700 a foot. So
Bloody hell.
that's more than 40%. If you look at it on that basis, right? I'm not saying that houses aren't selling still, or some of the big stuff is selling. Not a lot of it, but it is happening. But if you look at the average selling price, you're talking about 65% drop.
Yeah.
You know, there is a huge. The market this year has been extremely tough.
And that's just from overseas buyers and people exiting.
Take out the Russian, the Chinese, the Arabic money, and take out the incentive for them to want to buy.
SDLT was a killer for me. I think.
Oh God!
I mean, I have literally stood in a house where someone is prepared to buy the house who then starts talking about the nitty gritty, and you get to what is it going to cost me, and you get to SDLT at 19% for an international buyer. That's a huge amount of money, right?
What was the price of the one that you're talking about?
How much was that?
How much was that particular house?
20 million.
So what's the stamp duty land tax on that?
4 million, just under £4 million.
So that's just unbelievable, isn't it?
So, you know, people don't. I mean, I've even had vendors, you know, I've said, you know, this SDLT is not a problem. You people that buy my houses at 40 million don't think about SDLT. And then 2 months later, I'm in a conversation and I say, well, you know, SDLT is 19%. Where did you get 19% from?
Yeah.
So, you know, people don't, it's not always out there that it's the international buyers are paying 19% stamp duty.
Yeah. So what was it like 3 or 4 years ago?
Oh, mate, it's 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know. I started when it was 1%. It was 1%. So over 30 years, it's gone from 1% for an international to 19%. It's a huge increase. And I think all of those factors have taken. And then obviously we have the change in the non-dom tax regime, which has been brutal. Then we've had the government coming out with things that we might ban SDLT. I mean, what a brilliant one that was 4 or 5 months ago. We might get rid of SDLT and replace it with a mansion tax. So all the buyers were like,
I'm going to wait.
£1 million property, that's 40,
Where's the buyer gone? They've not communicated with us for ages.
We've done 12 exchanges since the budget.
Yeah.
12 exchanges since the budget. So, I mean, that's how much, we're not waiting for the budget. We're not waiting for the budget. Sure, okay. Well, let's see when you exchange then.
Yeah, it's definitely a bounce. There's definitely been a bounce, isn't there?
I mean, well, I think people have sat back and waited. Even if you're buying £1 million apartment, that's £50,000 of stamp duty that if you just waited, you had to wait. If you were 2-3 weeks away, I'll wait 2 or 3 weeks.
You also see the amount of massive houses that have all of a sudden just exchanged and gone under offer after the budget.
Yeah.
Because everyone's looked at this mansion tax and gone, politely, if I've got to pay an extra £7,500 a year to have a £10 million house, it's fine. Yeah. That doesn't bother me at all.
I think that for me though is what is that? There's a process in that. Once the mechanics are in place, once the mechanics are done and all the things are done,
I was in a meeting not a meeting, but in a little room with Kwasi and Jeremy Hunt last week, and they were saying that'll just go up. That's just going to get ratcheted up. It's like he said, I think Kwasi said, it's like putting a frog into boiling water.
Yeah, of course.
It jumps straight out rather than just turning the heat up gradually.
Yeah.
So that heat's going to get cranked up on that.
And it's going to go into different price brackets. It'll drop down to £1 million homes. It'll drop down to 500.
We know it's coming, don't we?
Of course. It's just, this is a way to get the mechanics in place. And then what happens is, it doesn't matter whatever government gets in next.
Yeah.
I just did an article about stamp duty, and this country took 65 billion in stamp duty in the last 10 years. 25 billion from London, right? And there's talk as we might ban SDLT. I mean, come on, you really were never going to give up £65 billion over 10 years for a mansion tax that you don't even know how to value at this point, right?
But it'll also get the reality is, looking at it, the reality is a reform government are going to win next time, and they are right wing.
Well, I think it's theirs to lose.
It's theirs to lose, but either way,
which they could do.
Either way,
people that are involved.
Exactly.
Either way, I think we're going to have a right wing party that comes in and wins anyway.
Probably.
If the Greens win, I'm out of here. Let's put it like that.
You can.
I am gone. Not a fucking chance.
Can you hypnotise your tits? Is that what it is? I'm not sure. It's something along those lines.
I'm calling him the titty whisperer.
We need the stamp duty whisperer, let alone.
I love it, but we're going to have a right-wing party that comes in who are inevitably going to want to change all of this anyway, and it comes down to how much they can change.
But do they change it? SDLT never changed.
Well,
right?
again, they're going to take it away. They've got to find something to.
They've got to find something to come.
No,
I think,
and it's not their policy, right?
There's 400 million now, but if we just add another 1%, we just add a tiny. Now it's $1 billion.
They would just do what they all do. They come in,
blame the other party and keep it.
They left the black hole, and they put it in. We can't take it out because it's however many billions or millions it is. So just come in, sort of. So is it sort of central? That's the problem, and I say problem. is where the major drops have been in price, and it, as you filter out, it gets affected by that. Because we used to look at so when I started an agency, not long ago, you were always kind of looking at the London market, because whatever happened in London, there was this thing called a ripple effect.
Ripple in the pond.
And it would come out to London, buyers would come out, and they, in our area, people think if someone comes from London, they're going to pay 20% more for their house. Which it's stupid,
Absolute
right?
rubbish.
Because actually they're going to come out with more knowledge. They're probably smart in the nicest possible way, and they will hit you hard with price. But it does, I think it does concern the UK, the London market.
I think even individually in the London market, like I've not seen too much of effect in the residential side of the market, like outside RBKC and Central type thing.
Yeah.
But there has been a little effect. And I think the reality is everything gets hit by the top properties in the country, full stop. If your £50 million houses stop selling, the £25 million houses stop selling, the £10 million house, and so on and so forth, because no one's got somewhere to go to at that point. And it's naturally will affect and slowly come down the market.
There's types of buyers, isn't it? I mean, if you go to Prime, you start talking about Mayfair, South Kensington, Knightsbridge.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a local market.
No.
It's not 3.5 times your income mortgage
No,
areas,
it's
is
not.
it? This is people that want to buy an asset in the UK. I mean, funny enough, a lot of our clients haven't sold their assets in the UK despite moving abroad.
Yeah.
They've still held on to their assets here. There haven't been a mass rush to sell their.
I thought they might, because they're going to probably look at an exit tax at some description.
Well, or you just take a loan,
tax.
don't you? To take a loan against your asset. So you find a World Bank that will give you a loan against your asset.
Or you move it into a completely separate entity or a separate name, and there's loopholes.
But nobody's run away and gone, let's all sell our assets and get sold.
I think everyone's looking at it going, it'll be all right. It's just going to be a few years of pain.
100%.
Maybe.
I think everything, I don't think it would be perfect, but I think naturally Central London has always done worse when there's a Labour government in power. It always has done. Yeah. And the second that a Conservative or a right-wing kind of party that comes in who wants to protect the richer more, it always kind of takes that bounce back up. It's a weird one.
And it's not a political podcast. Yeah. However, let's just use an analogy, right? You've got agents in any model who are seriously underperforming, not showing up to the brokerage, and then they get given more incentives, more money. And then the guys at the top are the ones paying for that. It's not a model that I'm aware works.
No, it doesn't work.
What I mean by that
is
an
example of that.
Well, no. So if you look at if you look at the welfare economy that we've just had, it's what it's saying with the 2-child cap and all this kind of stuff is they're saying, look, we want to lift people out of poverty. That's the banner, right?
Yeah.
And God, of course you do. And there's no human that wouldn't want that to happen. But you're actually putting more people in poverty as well at the other end, because you've got work. I think the middle class is now more working class.
Yeah, so you're shifting.
You're shifting the dynamics. And actually the dynamics that's going up isn't going up through effort, hard work, or endeavour, risk-taking, creating more jobs, whereby I think rewards should be
100%.
For people, because there's no point, I don't think, going to someone who's a risk taker, take the risk and we're going to take your reward. Yeah. It just doesn't work.
Is that indicative of this government, though? Is that policy? Is that backbenchers' opinion?
They've done it because they wouldn't have their job.
Shifting, aren't you? And all the time. And that's what they're looking to do, is shift the wealth from one direction to another. Exactly what you're talking about is exactly what policy is. That's what the policy...
But Starmer and Reeves wouldn't have a job if they didn't pander to the backbenchers.
No, I don't think it's their government, is it? It's not their government.
Well, they're just figureheads now. They're not running anything. And I think the reality is... what did they come out with? A family of 2 with 3 kids working would have to take home £71,000 a year.
I think it is £77,000 a year
to make the same as someone a family that doesn't work with 3 kids on benefits now.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
It's bonkers.
I mean, I can't understand, and I suppose, and I would say to a business in a estate agency as well. I think. In a lot of models these days, and I would say since COVID, a lot of people are just paying people on presence and not performance. Yeah. So in other words, they're not actually, and this is probably why a lot of them don't make it in your models or our models, whatever you want to call it, is because they're not learning how to be great at communication, negotiation, build relationships, go and hunt, because I still think you have to hunt if you're in sales.
Yeah.
And we touched on this a little while ago, weren't we, about how many are hustling out there in the market, how many can find a deal. If you said to Oliver today, look, bud, you got 4 weeks, right? You've got to land a deal, and the fee's got to be in the region of 100 grand. I reckon you would go and do it.
100%.
But I reckon most don't know how.
I think this
comes back to what we talk about in terms of training and knowledge as well. Look, when you're dealing in prime central London, you've got to be pretty knowledgeable and answer questions pretty quickly, right? Yeah. If somebody wants to know what's the average selling price of the street,
discerning buyers, aren't they?
Of course, these are the people are, they want to know instant answers. They want to know, and without knowledge, it doesn't take a lot for people to go, okay, fine, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So you have to build that confidence as well through training, knowledge.
Yeah.
We might touch on AI and stuff in a minute, but for me,
not if my bladder's got anything to say about it.
That's 2. You've got 3 left. And I think the support mechanism from an AI point of view is all of these things that give you quick, instant data, give you the confidence. However way you bend it or twist it, AI will speed up that process.
Yeah.
We are very much using it across the board, from client facing now to making outgoing calls to doing all sorts of things. And the data and the speed and the way it can respond, it can give you data and things, and gives the broker confidence to have those conversations, is what we're talking about. Because without knowledge and the confidence, sometimes it's very hard to go out there. I mean, sure, there are some of us that could probably go out there and sell snow to the Eskimos, right?
But I get what you're saying. Like, you are in a marketplace where you've got the discerning buyer. People want to feel confident in the answers that you've got, and you've got to have a lot of knowledge around the history of a lot of these properties that are being sold.
People buy from confidence, 100%.
Yeah.
I think why he was a very good negotiator, because he was super confident, knew his stuff, knew what he was doing. People asked him a question. We're going to buy from this guy. We're making one of the biggest commitments we're ever going to make in our lives. And he knows the answers. He's the man I'm going to buy from.
I think it's also like being a good agent. It's all of those things, but I've always believed it's that extra killer instinct that most agents don't actually have. Like, I remember sat in my office when I was at M&P, and there was my manager to the left, and then 2 other negotiators who were actively competing with sat across from me. And even to the point where the phone would ring and it'd be a race to the phone, I'd never not pick that phone up. Every time I got that phone, no matter what, and I used to fucking pounce on it.
Culture. But they used to answer it on the light. In our offices, it never even used to.
What was the best trick you played on your colleagues though in those moments? Elastic bands, sellotape over the mouthpiece. So
it's like I think part of the reason why I also did so well in that office and at the company was because I was one of the few people that had the killer instinct to go, do you know what? I don't care how you feel at the end of the day. I'm here to make money. I will pick up the phone.
You can create that culturally, right? So instead of having you as one person in the office that was doing that, when I had a high street agency in Notting Hill, we built that as a culture. And the culture was every office was like, they would almost like it was going to laugh every time, got it quicker than the next person. How it sounded on the other end of the phone, because they'd be shouting the name of the business down the phone and all the rest of it. But that became culture. It was a cultural thing.
It became a culture in our office as well.
In a brokerage world when everyone works from home. You can't create those things.
There's a buzz, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a buzz, and I think that's.
I love when we humans
it's hard to replicate. You're right. In a brokerage, it's hard. Whether you work from an office or not, it's hard to replicate because. Because
you're
selling on one hand freedom and take this, and then on the other hand, it's like
sell that anymore.
Yeah.
If you want to join the brokerage, your life is over. You won't see your kids. You're never going to go out again. You won't even know what the price of beer is in 12 months' time. Trust me, forget it.
But that's the brokerage world. But even nowadays, I'll still pick up the phone at the speed of which I used to pick the phone up, type thing. And so I think it's just a certain people thing, and I think you can create a culture of it. Like when I was in that office, they used to know I was going to go for the phone, so they used to sit there with their hand on the phone just in case. So, but it's hard to create that culture because it's less intertwined in the feeling. I know if I can pick up the phone 1 in 3 times and make 20 grand from that one phone call. That's
Well,
fine by me.
we actually had to stop it. So we have one of these
throwing
Ring
shit
Central
at each other.
systems. Ring Central systems.
Is this when you were in Notting Hill?
No, this is now the brokerage.
Okay.
So we got a Ring Central system. So I don't know, 30, 40 brokers are on this system, right? The phone rings, every mobile phone rings at the same time, right? So if you're all out together, someone rings the office, all the phones are at the same time. So there's a race for your mobile phone. So we kind of carried that thing on.
Yeah.
The problem I have is when one of the brokers is driving around a roundabout, you've got an international client ringing up because they're interested in a house, and they're going, hang on a minute.
Let me just pull over.
Just 1 second. Oh, are you still there? Are you still there? So yeah, we there is a way of doing it, but you've got to find a way to control it. So.
I agree.
We're going to talk about AI.
Yeah.
Fun.
Is AI going to help agents to develop those habits that we were just talking about in terms of being in more conversations, or is it going to create more agents that are less inclined to do that?
I think both. I think it's going to become a different form of agency.
Correct.
Is the honest reality.
It's going to change the way the job is done.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we built this AI system 9 months ago. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but I'll show it to you one time. Yeah. It's incredible what this AI can do. And we started outgoing calls, right? 9 months ago, started an outgoing call process. I was saying earlier, the AI just made 800 calls in 5 minutes. So you take any industry, right? So the guy said to me, oh yeah, well, we're just going to do 800 calls from the database, just ring through the database. 800 calls? I said, well, how long is that going to take? He's like, about 8 minutes.
Oh my God.
So you just think any industry, anything. Yeah. So 800 calls made. And remember, I can train, and this not only train the AI, but he learns every time that where he gets a win by the process in which he has the conversation. So, he start off saying, oh, hi, I'm Jesse from Jeffries London, people putting the phone down. Yeah. But then he keeps trying.
So we'll try another approach.
Until he finds another approach, until he gets to what he wants to try to get to, is booking a viewing.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's incredible how much it's adapting and changing. So I do think that the agents, brokers, again, self-employed brokers, are terrible at admin. How many salespeople are good at admin? Right?
It's historic.
They're horrendous, right? So now you've got a support system that is easily usable. And I think that's another real thing that's important, that AI makes everything so simple. Yeah. Oh, can you send a contract to Matt at so-and-so, 2%, done.
Oh,
finished.
hang on, I'm not paying 2%.
Well, sorry, 2.5%.
So you're saying that it's almost like having your own, you've got 800 agents making calls effectively. I don't know. But and the calls just get better and better and better.
So we've got a chart that shows, so interaction, nothing, interaction. Wow. We have conversation now that's 15 minutes long. Yeah. I mean, people have said, are you an AI? He says, no, I'm human, just very well polished.
That's when the AI leaves Jeffries London and sets up on his own.
Well, honestly, incredible.
Absolutely collapses the market.
It's mental, like just 2 or 3 years ago.
He speaks 60 plus languages. So let's say, again, you're a Chinese buyer looking to buy in London. Yeah. You could call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Jesse answers the phone and will speak to you in Mandarin. Yeah. You want to speak to him in any language, Italian, and he speaks. I
think this is a real glimpse of the future here. I mean, as in the depth and the way in which it's learning so fast to improve and optimize. Because most agents will keep making the same mistakes.
100%.
Yeah.
So they don't have that trajectory of improvement. Yeah. They just tend to keep making the same mistakes unless a manager or someone around them says, well, hang on a minute, do you think you should try a different...
do that and it might work for you.
And then they think, well, you know what. But it's really interesting. So you think it's going to... Your answer was you think it's going to do both.
It's going to do both.
And you're in agreement with that.
Yeah, I think it'll be different. It will just be a different way in which the broker 100%. Does the job. They'll use an AI assistant.
So where's the broker in this?
But there's going to be no difference to agents nowadays. You're going to have good agents and you're going to have crap agents. And it's just going to be, are they still good agents with the use of AI, or are they bad agents with the use of AI, and get lazy with it? And at the end of the day, the good agent and the bad agent could have an AI making 1,000 calls a day.
I mean, I could say to my AI, could you remind me tomorrow at 10 o'clock to call so-and-so? 10 o'clock, my phone rings. Jesse's on the phone. He says, just to remind you, you need to call this person. Just again, consistency. Yeah. What's the best way to be consistent? You've got an AI that'll make you consistent. You need to call this person today. You need to do that today.
You add your flair and your
he cracks knowledge, cracks
experience.
Jokes. I mean, it's not just a robot thing's voice. He talks like a human. He cracks jokes. Oh, I'm very polished. Ha ha ha. All of this kind of stuff. No one's ever said to him that's what you need to say. And every time he says something different,
just figure it out.
And as these conversations have gone on and on and on, like, you cannot see how much more engagement. And I think humans will get used to engagement with AI. You see, at the minute, it's still like we're all coming from the old days of a chatbot line. Press 1, press 1, you know, and it doesn't work. Whereas all of this is so functional and so good that after a while, people will start saying, oh, you know, you say to one of my brokers, how big's that property? They're like, oh, at least 5,000 square feet. It's probably 4,200 square feet, right? Jesse will go 4,221 square feet. Yeah. Any more information you'd like to know? Would you like to know about local schools? Do you want to have Ofsted reports? Do you want this? He does all of that and more.
It'll also massively assist in, there's a large portion of the population that don't want to deal with an estate agent. That's the reality. And if they speak to an AI instead, and actually they only have to meet an agent on a viewing type thing, that'll be massive for them. They'll love that.
I've seen people like even with WhatsApp, like WhatsApp. There's a girl in the office looking to buy right now, and she just WhatsApps. There's an agent that she went on to Rightmove. I'd like to view this property. Got a WhatsApp message to say, when would you like to view it? Blah, blah. And she's been talking to an AI through WhatsApp, booking the appointment. And her first response to me was, that's the best agent I've dealt with.
Yeah. Mental.
Isn't that mental? So you would have thought the agent that called her up like we used to first thing in the morning, we used to fight over the Rightmove leads, get the Rightmove leads, brilliant.
They've already been dealt with.
Yeah, exactly.
Better.
Exactly. But now that's what people go, oh, brilliant. I got to speak to this WhatsApp. I didn't have to speak to an agent and I'm booked in for 10 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah.
Bloody, is it scary or not?
I think so. I still get blown. I come in now on purpose just to listen to the rest of the conversations overnight because I just cannot believe how good it really is. Books the viewing in the diary, sends you an email to say give this person a call if you can't do it. Like, looks at your diary, checks you're free.
I don't necessarily. I think certain people will find it scary. I think there's going to be the same people that find the use of social media to advertise their properties scary type thing. There's always going to be the populace of that go, I don't trust dealing with an AI type thing. But I think it's more, from my point of view, it's exciting because now what we've got is we've got the rush of, as we were saying before the podcast, you've got the rush of who can dominate this AI space in the property world the fastest. And there's going to be a few people that come out on top and they'll make tons of money out of it because they can... I'm quite surprised personally, like self-employed, I think we're going to lead the way on AI anyway. I think that's the reality. I'm quite surprised that the big corporate agents haven't yet tagged onto this.
That's what you'd
because
assume, wouldn't you?
What I think is going to happen is the same thing as... So when France implemented the same thing as the UK just implemented, higher national insurance payments, X and Y and Z, 71% of certain jobs were all all then done by robots and AI at that point. And what's going to happen is, if they do that, they could save themselves a shit ton of money. They would only need one negotiator in the office to deal with the leads. They would only need one manager in 2 offices to go and value stuff.
One of the Christie's in France has done over €1 million in just pure AI match. Because the one thing is, when you're training, the worst thing about negotiators is the fear of rejection, right?
They don't have anything.
Well, they don't have fear of rejection, so they don't mind talking about financial services. I mean, how hard is it to train a negotiator to ask somebody,
offer them
what have you done regarding your finance, right? You'd almost have to beat them with a stick for them to one day to just ask that one simple question, right? Depending on how big the incentive was, one simple question. Yeah. And what have you done? How did you arrive at this figure? What have you done regarding your finances? That's all they had to say. Yeah. Can they say it? No. What does an AI do? What have you done about your finances? Yeah. Doesn't care what the response is. No. So once you take out emotion, and most salespeople are very emotional, right? And that's the control of that emotion that makes people good salespeople. Yeah. Take that out. All of a sudden, the AI he cross-sells. Like if you called up our office and said, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom flat in Chelsea. He'll say, I've got this option, this option. He WhatsApps them to you while you're on the phone. And then say, have you considered South Kensington? Yeah. Have you considered this location? Have you thought about this? You can get a little bit more money bang for your buck if you were just to go 10 minutes in that direction. Yeah. And I'm listening to these conversations. People saying, that's brilliant, friends. Can you send me those details as well? Yeah, actually, I'd like to go and see that one. And the brokers aren't like we were years ago where we would be doing that because if it's not their listing, they're a bit reluctant to talk about other people's listings. And that's another big downfall of the brokerage world is that, that's not my listing, I'll get them to call you. So already the whole conversation is gone. They've framed it badly. They don't sound great. Oh, not my listing. Sorry, I'll get someone to call you.
That affects the brand, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
Yeah.
So predictions. We're going to close with your predictions for 2026 in London. Mm-hmm. I was going to do an AI quickfire showdown, like at the end there, like quickfire questions. But to be honest, I think we've talked about enough about AI. It's
Yeah.
it is scarily brilliant,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And it
Absolutely.
equally exciting, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So, what's your one bold prediction in London property market for 2026?
In terms of the market itself,
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more. From my section of the market, I'm going to see a lot more £2 million plus house sales than we thought would actually happen, in my personal opinion, because I think the mansion tax they tried to input now has had no effect in any way, shape, or form. I think everyone expected, after all of the kites that were put out about the budget, that the top end of the market was just going to fall on its arse, essentially. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that the market's going to pick up a little bit for as long as nothing else happens in the world that's going to kill the market again. It'd be nice to just have a year straight of just clear runway and just have a proper market for a bit.
It's quite sensitive to world economics, isn't
100%.
it? Yeah.
If Putin
London more
takes it any
so, I would
further,
say. Yeah.
if Putin takes it any further, the market will go tits up again, type thing. And but as long as we have a clear market, I think you're going to see it bounce back quite a lot. Is the reality. But I still think the investment side, I think buy-to-let's dead next year. I don't think anyone's buying buy-to-lets. I don't have any buy-to-let investors looking to spend money unless it's buying a hotel and turning it into a gigantic HMO type thing.
Yeah.
I think that's dead as well.
And for me, next year is going to be about tech.
Yeah.
It's going to be about things like AI. It's going to be about collaboration, and collaboration is going to come through tech. It's going to come through these WhatsApp groups. It's going to come through people collaborating through different systems. And again, the more I'll see a bigger shift, I think, from the high street model into the brokerage world.
Great.
And with that, again, comes more tech, because the brokerage world is so much more advanced with tech than I think the high street model is. There's going to be a lot more tech out there. There's going to be a lot more stuff. And I see 2026, I don't see the market being much different to 2025, in my opinion, but 2026 is going to see a lot more of that, a lot more people moving into the brokerage space, and with that, a lot more tech and a lot more AI. That's what I see for 2026.
This has gone really quick. And I
And
literally...
you got 2 Ps in as well. I'm very impressed.
Just the one. While he was doing a deal. You two are legends. The reason why you're legends is you've given up your time to come and spend time with me talking about the London market and giving some real insights. And I mean real, not corporate insights. This is the real world. And I think that's what people need to hear. So thank you.
Pleasure. Absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thanks,
and
man.
we're going to go to the bar. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, listen, follow, and I'll see you on the next one.